Hello everybody, welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to show you how to make some alternate projects using the March 2025 paper pumpkin kit. Look at this box, woohoo! It's called Daydreams and the insides are just fabulous, as always of course with paper pumpkin. But what I'm going to show you this time are cards made primarily using just the envelopes. The kits are always great, you can always cut and expand, and the envelopes are always part of that objective. Quite often the inside is patterned and you can use it as like a designer series paper, but as you can see the pattern is on the outside of these ones. But not to fear, I have some ideas. There are two other videos that I've done already, so I will link those in the description box below if you want to check those out. But without further delay, let me get started and show you how we go about making envelope cards. So this is the first envelope I'm going to take, and what I did was I went ahead and I cut it out, or cut it open already, because there was so much and it was a little bit fidoodly. The directions and dimensions of course as always will be on my blog, so you can go and follow along there, and there should be like diagrams and pictures and all that good stuff. So this is what the card looks like. I punched out some of the lovely daisies. In my videos before I kept calling them sunflowers. I guess it's because, you know, we're so desperate for spring to get here. So this was the card in itself, the envelope. So there's even the sides. So what I did was I pulled it open. I didn't slice it down the side because I wanted to try and get as much of the extra as I possibly could. The bottom piece, I cut this to be 4 by 5 1/4, which as you know layers onto a card base. So this piece, which I just attached with little post-it notes, we don't need for this project, so I'm going to pop it off to one side. The scraps of course, let me just pop those off to one side. I just brought them in just so you could see the whole thing. The bottom piece, as you can see, I've gone ahead and die cut it, but that's for another project. I just wanted to maximize, absolutely maximize the most I could out of just the one envelope. So I'll take that little layer and you'll see it in a minute. Again, that's a scrap now, so that could literally just go in the trash, I suppose. And here we are with our piece. The base of the card is basic black, and it's 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4 1/4. That's a nice size that we're all pretty comfortable with. And I'll bring in my bone folder and give it a nice sharp crease. This is the size, of course, that fits in a standard envelope. And there is a piece that's a little bit smaller. Again, it's the same as the front layer. It's 5 1/4 by 4, and that goes on the inside. But because we're doing 3 cards, I'm showing you that. I'm not going to take the time to stick it in. So that is the card front. The other pieces, like I say, I punched 2 of the daisies out of the die cuts that come in the kit. I punched out 1 of the pre-die cut bees, and these little doodads, black sort of flat sequins, they came out of my stash. And by stash, I have these 2 CD cases, DVD cases. And every time there's a paper pumpkin and I don't use necessarily all of the pieces, I put them in these boxes and I save them for later. And I am one of those people who always saves everything for later, and then later never seems to come. So I went through my box. This is from, Paper Pumpkin came out in 2013. So this has the opportunity, the potential of being sort of, you know, 12 years old, who knows. But anyway, we're going to use it today. So the envelope I cut up, and I cut it down to a piece that is 5 1/4 by 4, but it does have the crease of the envelope on it. So what I'm going to do, I've already done it a little bit on one side. You might be able to see this score is a little bit less severe, but I will show you how we do it. So you need to lie it. Can you see how there was like some sort of pulling apart damage? But it doesn't matter because it's going to flip over and it'll be hidden by the card base. So I'm going to take the blunt end of my bone folder, and on a sort of a squishy surface, I'll call it, so the silicone mat is ideal for that. If you just push gently, and you can't go mad, it will help to flatten that out just a little bit. I couldn't get it to be flat completely, but I think the pattern is busy enough, and this side where it's plain and you can see there's a seam, that's going to have the greeting on it. And I've just realized when I threw away my piece going, well, of course we don't need that, I will just eat my words and bring it back in. So what we're going to do is we're going to make this a thank you card. So I've already put the thank you from the stamps, and because it's March and March is the anniversary month, we actually got a second set of stamps. I mean, these are just fabulous. Anyway, you get the kit, you have the fun, you get to keep the ingredients. So I'm going to use my Memento Black, and on this scrap, which is literally the scrappiest scrap, I'm just going to stamp a nice thank you. Thank you, I'm here all week. Then I could bring in my paper trimmer. You know what, I will bring in my paper trimmer, just on principle. I just realized I put my stamps on top of it. Now I've thrown those away. And what we need to do is cut this down to be 1/2 inch. So again, I will bring in one of my handy little post-it notes. It just helps hold it straight, and cut that to be 1/2 inch. So we can line it up at 1/2 inch on the paper trimmer. Pop the post-it on to help hold it, and then you have it. So now we can get rid of the scraps and the paper trimmer for now. So I cut a piece of basic black, and it is 2 3/4 by 3/4 of an inch. That's how I knew that the thank you would fit on it nicely. So I'm just going to bring in my snips and snip the back end, and then I'm going to chevron the end. And the way we do that is you cut up the middle, and then you cut from each corner to that point in the middle. And because, using logic, we've done it in the middle, you're going to get a nice even chevron. So I'll do the same with the black. So we'll cut it up the middle, and then cut from the corner to the top of that cut line, and this corner to the top of that cut line, and then we have a nice even chevron, just like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move that up a little. That wasn't very to the corner. So let me just go back. I can't see for myself. I'm creating a shadow on my own self. So I will bring in some adhesive. I have to be careful because this is sort of torn envelope paper. There is a risk that the paper, as it rolls, could catch it and tear it further. But there we have it. So we put it in the middle, and that can just get attached there. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the whole thing off and have a flat edge. Oops. Making it up on the fly as I go along. So now what we need to do is we need to attach this to the card base. And again, because it's slightly torn where we pulled the envelope apart, just going to have to be very careful in this little section. But oops, there we go. And just to try and help this seam lie flat, I'm going to put adhesive on there. What I seem to be doing is putting adhesive all over myself. But there we go. And then we can pop it onto the card because we know it's the 1/4 layer smaller. And then I'm going to bring in my silicone mat. The bee I'm going to put here in this corner, and his wings and legs can actually help hide that little boo-boo. Depends on how carefully you can get it pulled apart as to whether you've got any frayed edges. And unfortunately mine did fray. So we'll pop that bee down there. We'll pop the greeting on. From the edge. It helps hide that multitude of sins. And then I will bring in the two other daisies. Pop those on with dimensionals, I think. So we'll just put one in the middle of each of those. And it seems this one's a bit skinny, so I'm just going to cut the dimensional in half. To pop that one on. So peel the backing papers off really quickly. Pop that one on there. Pop this one on there, and then I will bring in my sequence of undetermined age and pop a couple of those. Oops. Well, we'll be doing 3 because aesthetically 3 is a good number. Oh, don't know where that extra one came from. Ah, they're sticking. Well, they're sticking to me, but they won't stick to the paper. How ironic is that? Let me just lay that. Get off me. Help. I'm being bullied by a sequin. Oh my gosh, it really won't let go. Sorry about that. So that is the first card done using the daisy envelope. So I will pop that to one side, and then I will bring in the next one. And this one will be using the piece that we just cut out of the previous card. So again, these are, I will be using these, and just so you know, these are called 2021-23 in colour opal rounds. So again, I've had those for a long time. Oh, really hoarding, it's an illness. So this one, I'm actually going, because what's left of the envelope on the back isn't so savable, let's call it that, I am going to just cut it down. So I'm just going to put the edge of the envelope into the paper trough. So I'm going to be cutting off like a hair's breadth, just like that. So that's how much gets cut off, and then flip it over and do the other side. And just so you know, my lovelies, I just went ahead, I don't even think I cut enough of that one. I just went ahead and changed the blade in my paper trimmer, because when you're trying to do something this fine on something that's a little bit thinner, like an envelope or paper, especially if you're trying to cut across a score line, it doesn't always come off very easily. It can tend to fray quite a bit. So I am just going to, actually we're doing it this way up. So what I wanted to do was save these daisies, and I know they've got a little bit of a rounded edge, but I still think we can get away with that. So what I need to do is line this up at 4 and cut this piece off. The reason I cut the envelope open, of course, was that we would have cut into the back, and that's a nice usable surface. So this part of the envelope we don't need anymore, and this is the part that we do need. So I'm just going to straighten up the edges. We want it to be 5 1/4. So I'm just going to go just where that edge is, where it starts to curve, and cut that off, so we've got a straighter edge, and then line that up at 5 1/4 on that side, and cut down. So now we've got a nice edge. Again, this is the Mossy Meadow which matches the green of the leaves and the stalks. So it's 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4 1/4. And again, there is a piece of 5 1/4 by 4, which goes on the inside. So I'll just pop that one off to one side. So this will go here. Oh, and can you see a little tip? It depends where it falls in the paper trough as to where, sometimes it lands even, and sometimes you've got this like 16/32 of an inch. And the trick is, if that happens, just pop that to the back and give yourself the full piece on the front. So this will attach to here like this, and then we will put this at the top just here, and then we're going to have the greeting, which is what we cut from the envelope, will go here, and then the daisy can go on the corner. But what we need to do is we need to add the greeting. So because there's the daisy and then it's a big open square, the greetings in the kit weren't particularly square, they were more long and thin. So what I'm going to do is bringing in the Mossy Meadow ink pad, and I've got the greeting that says, oops, nope, enjoy your special day. And what we need to do is just line up enjoy your, so there's only ink on the first two words. I know it's a little bit fussy, but we'll do enjoy your, and then I'll show you another little trick that you can do if you're not as confident to do that, is to bring in a post-it note, or you can use the washi tape, and then what you do is you mask over. So we've already got enjoy your, so we'll put the post-it note over those two words, and then ink up special day, and then take that away, and I'm just going to put those a little bit across. It just helps fill that space a little bit more. So now we can put the daisies on. And you know what, I'm just thinking, this piece that I've cut, it just seems a little bit too big, and it's a shame because I used the lovely dies, but I'm going to quickly bring in my paper trimmer. It seems a bit silly to have gone to the trouble of die cutting it just to then cut them off, because although these are lovely, I think the star of the show should be the daisies on the envelope layer of the card. So just quickly cut those down, and there was plenty room around, so this will still fit on. This can look layered, and then it's not quite so in your face. So we'll pop that on there. This can move down a little bit, and then the daisy can go on. So let me go ahead and attach all these pieces. So we'll just attach this one to the Mossy Meadow. We will, actually, let's just give this a push. I know it's plain and there's not going to be particularly much to hide it, but if we can get rid of that seam, it just helps. And then we can go ahead and attach this layer. And even though it's an envelope and we could lick it, yeah, we're not doing that. So put a little bit of extra adhesive where the seams are. Oops, pop this onto the front. And attach the layer. And then pop this lovely big daisy up on a couple of dimensionals. And then just to add a little bit of bling, we can panic when you've lost your stylus. Ooh, let's do one from the bottom. Where I grew up in England, they used to have a show called Countdown, and they used to have a mathematical portion of it, and there were various numbers, and they put the numbers in and you had to try and make the end result number using what there was. And the top row was big numbers like 50 and 100, and the lesser rows were a little bit smaller. Oh, you know, I don't like that. That looks too contrived. Let me just move that over there. And what the contestants used to say was, oh, Carol, can I have one from the top? Which I always thought was quite funny. So there we have it. We've used the envelope. Don't even know where that envelope is. Let me bring in the right one. So this was the envelope that we started with. We've added the mossy meadow. We've added some old gems, which is good because we've used them up. And then I think what I'll do, just as a little bit extra, I did it on my last cards as well, to give this daisy a little bit of front and center. I'm just going to rub it with a little bit of Wink of Stella, and I don't think it will show up on the video. I don't think I can get it in the right light, but it just has a little, oh, there you go. It just has a little bit of bling to it. So that's the second card using the second envelope. So pop that off to one side, and then on to the last but not least one. So this is the envelope that we're going to be using. And here are the ingredients. So one of the card bases, and I did make a couple of cards using this, was this one, and it gets punched out. Let me see if I can. This was the card that I'd made. So I used the base, and the green goes on the inside, but then I was left with the circle that got punched out. This is that circle. So I'm now going to use it, and this is the layout of how this card is going to look. So this is using, oops, Lost Lagoon, which is the colour of the ink that comes in the kit, the lovely little spot. So we'll just 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4 1/4. And then again, this has its piece of basic white that will go on the inside. And then what we need to do is cut down this envelope, and we're going to use the same cutting down technique. So bring back in the paper trimmer, and we are going to cut just a slither off, and then turn it over and cut just a slither off the other side. And then we will cut it across the bottom, because we're not opening anything. There won't be any folds and creases and seams we're trying to hide. This piece is going to be something, so keep watching. I can't believe I've managed to sort of find so many alternatives just off the bat, but it's great. So then what we'll do is we'll cut this at 4 inches, because 4 1/4 by 5.5, the layer will be 4 by 5 1/4. So we'll just obviously use as much of this as we can. So that will be the bottom. And then this is going to be something. And even if I never come to use this for a project, I can just trim this to the size and then put it on the back of an envelope, even perhaps the envelope that this card would go into. But then let's make it 5 1/4. And that's how you cut the envelope apart. And then let's bring back in all the little pieces. So what we need to do is do some stamping first. And I'm going to stamp the same greeting that we had. Oh, I forgot my Lost Lagoon ink. Talk amongst yourselves. I'll be right back. Ah, here I am. So again, we're going to do the enjoy your special day. So we'll do enjoy your just on the edge of the ink pad. But this one, I think I'm just going to do them one on top of the other. So that can say enjoy your, give it a clean, of course. And then special day. There we go. So we've got the same theme going on. Don't want to lose my little bee. But then I thought they gave us this lovely honeycomb stamp. And in the instructions for the cards that the kit makes, or the card that the kit suggests you make, they do use this on one of the backgrounds. So I'm actually going to just follow along to what it says. So we will put two up here, one down in the corner, one a little bit further up, and then one which is sort of on the diagonal. But what I'm going to do is I am going to now stick my circle on, because it's already been safely stamped, as it were. And just make sure that this fits where I think it's going to go. So let's pop that on there like that, and then we know where it's free and clear to pop another one. So as you can see, there's 5 of them. Aesthetically speaking, things are supposed to be odd numbers. It's just more attractive apparently. Oops. So now we can go ahead and pop this onto the card front. Oops. There we go. And then I'm going to bring in the silicone mat. I'm actually going to attach this with glue, just because there are so many skinny little pieces for it. Put some little dots of glue in some strategic places. I mean, the big flower can have more. Just a couple of little dots, just like that. Pop that off to one side. Just throw it off into the distance. Stick that on. Because it's so delicate, I wasn't sure that it would hold up with dimensionals. I mean, looking at it now, it probably would have. I could have put dimensionals here and over there, but you know what? Not everything has to have a dimensional, Alyson. And then last but not least, I am going to put half a dimensional, I think. Put the other piece back on there for now. And again, everything is sticking to me today. I'm having a sticky day. And then just pop that right there, like that. So that is the third card made from the third envelope. So those are the cards. Let me bring them back in so you can see them. Hopefully these all fit in the shot nicely. So there you have it, 3 cards made primarily using envelope ingredients. As I say, all the directions and dimensions will be on my blog. If you've got a question or a comment, pop those in the description box below. If you like what you've seen, please consider subscribing. A thumbs up keeps my algorithm busy so I can keep bringing videos like this to you. I hope you've enjoyed these. I've certainly enjoyed them. This was the best fun ever. And last but not least, thanks so much for watching.